Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Jyotirmaya Yoga. We focus on spirituality, a journey to self realization. Please subscribe for the mystical meaning of the scriptures and to enjoy daily satsang with us. We are currently exploring the book The Art of Positive Feeling, authored by Swami Jyotirmayananda Ji Maharaj and narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. In today's satsang, we will be discussing breaking the fetters of desire. More human desires are expressions of ignorance and imperfection. Therefore, the pursuit of those desires is characterized by pain, frustration, and failure. A mind infested by desires cannot rest in peace. Desires are much like a net in which human consciousness is trapped. The bird of the human soul wishes to fly into the regions of freedom but caught in the net of desires. It suffers untold miseries. All miseries and afflictions proceed from desires. The external and internal conditions of life are manifestations of your desires. A person seeking peace, prosperity, self realization, and immortality must learn the art of studying, purifying, and sublimating his desires. Every unfulfilled and frustrated desire brings to the unconscious an impression of tension. With each impression of tension, a portion of willpower is locked up. Thus, the more one desires, the less he is able to execute thoughts into actions. The more one desires, he, the less he is able to enjoy inner peace and tranquility. Desire manifests in two forms: unconscious and conscious. Unconscious desires are known as vasanas or subtle desires. Very often, people do not know their own subtle inclinations, and while they consciously endeavor to build the pillars of peace and raise the mansion of spiritual prosperity and glory, they unconsciously create obstacles through the perpetuation of anger, hatred, egoism, and attachments to worldly values. Torn between these conflicts of the conscious and the unconscious, human will is unable to work effectively towards the acceleration of one's evolution. There is this interesting story that we will enjoy together: the fisher woman and the flowers. Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansa told a parable to illustrate the illusion created by human desires. Once three fisherwomen were returning home, but since it had become late, they decided to ask for a place to sleep at a house along the way. The owner of the house wanted to be as hospitable as possible, so when he prepared a place for them to sleep, he decorated the room with jasmine, rose, queen of the night, and other fragrant, beautiful flowers. After tossing fitfully from side to side for an hour, one of the fisherwomen said, "What a foul smell! I cannot sleep at all." Another fisherwoman, having the same problem, said, "I have an idea. Let us put our fishing nets over our noses and then sprinkle them with water so that we may breathe in the wonderful fragrance of fish and shut out that foul smelling flowers." Having done so, they all slept peacefully. Even so, human beings could abide in the fragrant mansions of the Lord amongst divine flowers of virtues. However, instead of instead they maintain the mask of desires and shut out the heavenly fragrance. Instead of resting blissfully in peaceful surrender, They prefer the fishy foulness of worldly vanities. Do not act like those fisherwomen. Learn to renounce your inner attachments to worldly things that are mortal and perishable. Learn to be attached to God, the immortal being within. Thus you can enjoy the heavenly fragrance that never fades and experience the bliss that never diminishes. Silence the hissing snakes of desire. So many people have no relaxation in their eyes or peace in their heart. Their lives are filled with grief. Like a snake hissing in the chambers of the heart, unfulfilled desire emits the poison of grief and agony. One should develop a profound understanding that desires for the world cannot be satisfied by plunging into worldly enjoyments. The desire to drink cannot be cured by drinking day and night. The desire to gamble will not cease if you frequent casino tables every night. The desire for worldly pleasures will not terminate if you indiscriminately indulge in them day and night. The fact is, the more one runs after worldly pleasures, the more one's desire increases, like drinking from salty water in the ocean. A fire burns only more fiercely when oil is poured onto it. So too, a desire bursts into insurmountable proportions when you pour worldly impressions into your mind by thoughtlessly pursuing the desire. Lord Krishna describes this situation in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. By constantly thinking of an object, one becomes attached to the object. From attachment, there arises desire. When the desire to possess the object is obstructed, one develops anger. Anger causes loss of reason. Loss of reason leads to loss of memory, and the loss of memory causes one's destruction. While desires spell poverty and pain, aspiration for God realization brings a harvest of spiritual wealth and joy. Those who are rid of desires and are established in the self are like an ocean that remains unaffected by the rivers pouring into it. Such is the consciousness of sages who experience objects and circumstances and yet remain ever unaffected by them. It is attachment that leads to pleasure and pain. Consider the example of a man who sees a new car in a showroom. His thinking of it again and again leads him to become attached to it and arouses a desire to possess that car. Ultimately, he buys it, and the car becomes a part of him, as it were. If anything goes wrong with it, he is affected. He becomes glued to the car through attachment, and he may even give his car a pet name. But then later, after he sells the car, even if he hears that it has been totaled in an accident, he remains unaffected. This could illustrate how it is not the object but the attachment to it that causes pleasure or pain. Attachment does not reside in any object but inside the mind. If you are rid of attachments, if you get rid of it, you become the real master. With this, we conclude the satsang today. I will see you in tomorrow's satsang. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Hari Om Tat Sat.